So in today's session, we will be studying what are functions. What are functions in Python? We will be studying some examples of functions. Okay, we have two types of functions. One type is built-in functions and the other one is user-defined functions. You already know what is built-in function, you already know what is user-defined function. Am I right? Built-in functions are those functions which perform a set of operations which is already defined by the interpreter Python or what. Okay. So built-in functions, we have some examples like finding the length of a string, finding the length of a list, and so on. Similarly, you can find the minimum and maximum values in a list. You can sort a list, you can find the sum of elements in a list, and you can zip lists. All these things we'll see with an example now. Okay. Built-in functions in lists or strings or in general whatever is built-in functions. So let me log into my Google account so that I can use my Google Colabs. Okay. I'm opening a new notebook. And here I am creating certain lists. For example, list L1 is equal to 2, 5, 6, 23, 45, 67 and so on. Right? Okay. I'll put 21 or something like that. Okay. Now, you already know length of L1 will give you the total number of the length of the elements of the string. So this length is a built-in function len. Okay. That means that you are telling the Python interpreter that this length will have to find out how many elements are there in the list. So it will have to go through all the list and find out there is a set of logic written behind this len which is being called and being used here to find the length of L1. Okay. So when you run this you will get we have 6 elements, right? Like len we have max to find out the maximum or the largest number. Now in case you give an string here, you will get an error. The list should have only numerical values. Okay, not supported instances for string and integer. But what happens, you can give a float here. I am giving 9.87 or 9. Okay, it is capable of finding out the maximum value. Similarly, minimum value, the lowest value. Min of L1 will give you the lowest value which is 5. Okay. So now similarly L1 dot sort L1 dot sort, what it is doing is that, now let me ask you, what is the difference between, say I am giving here length of L1 and here I am using L1 dot sort. So do you know what is the difference between using L1 dot sort and length in brackets? In certain examples or certain built-in functions, we need to use we need to give the function and as arguments you are passing the value of list, right? But in certain these things you are invoking the method inside the link list class of Python. Sort is a list class inside the Python and you are invoking the sort method from the list class. That is why you are using L1 dot sort. The sort one is a built-in method inside the Python list class. Okay. So these are some examples of built-in. We'll see another one function called a zip function. I'm creating another list called as L2. Three, 4, 5, 6. Okay. L1 dot zip L2. L3 is equal to, and now I am printing L3. Zip L1, L2. Zip L1, L2. I am getting that zip object here. Now, listen here all of you. I've created two lists called as L1 and L2. Then I've created a third list called as zip of L1 and L2. What it is doing is that it is creating a list of tuples of elements from 1 and 2. Okay. This first element 0, L1 of 0, L2 of 0, L1 of 1, L2 of 1, and so on. Okay. All of you understood what is zip function? It will create a list of tuples. Okay. And you need to see it is returning a zip object, so you need to convert this into a list object so that it is displayed as a list. Okay. So these are some functions, and I have created a similar, see there is another one, round function, absolute value, that also we'll see with examples here. Round is a built-in function. I have some value called as A, which is 23.8765 or some number is there. Okay. This is a float value. I wanted to round this off to 2 decimal digits. I can put it as A, 2. Okay. So that I will get the rounded value of A and 2. Okay. So this is the objective of round function. Similarly, I am giving here it as minus 23 and I want to find out the absolute value, I can use this. We use these kind of functions in so many places whenever in our scientific computing. So you get the negative sign removed. You get the absolute value of any variable here. Is that clear? So these are some examples of built-in functions. We have infinite number of built-in functions. We cannot cover almost all the functions, but for most of the basic required things we have built-in functions. Is that clear, all of you? This PDF you can utilize it and you can practice by doing all the examples given here. Now I'm going to give you an introduction to what is called as packages, which we have already seen somewhere or the other. Now math is such a package where I'll be using a function or a method inside the math package in the math class, math.square-root, to find out the square root of something. Okay. And based on this I'm going to create a function to find out the Pythagoras theorem. Okay, what is Pythagoras theorem? What is Pythagoras theorem? Okay. When you have a right angled triangle, okay, when you have a right angled triangle, we call it as ABC. The hypotenuse is equal to the square root of base plus altitude. Okay. So I'm going to write a Python function to find out the hypotenuse of a right angled triangle. This is all for your easy understanding and simplicity. So let me call it as definition. DEF is a Python keyword. Listen here, all of you. Def is a Python keyword used to initiate a Python function. When you say def, it means that you are going to write a function. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give some name to my function, hypotenuse. Okay. Let the sides be A and B. Now what I have to do, I have to return, okay, A square plus B square raised to 0.5. That's what they have done by using the AI. Now I'm not going to use AI, but I'm going to import this math method. Okay. Instead, what I'm going to do, C is equal to, okay, math dot square root of A square plus B square, and then I'm going to return C. Okay. This is a function that I have written in return, okay, in Python. So now I can run this, now I'll get no errors because everything is right. Now I wanted to create two triangles XYZ. Let me call the first triangle to be XYZ. And I want to find out its hypotenuse, where the sides are 3 and 4. Okay. PQR can be another one triangle, or ABC, that is having another one. So I can easily create the hypotenuse and I can just print it. I can create n number of triangles. So this is an example of a user defined function. Here I have defined what is the hypotenuse. Okay. Similarly, in your manual, I have written another one program to find out the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor, where the capacitance C is given by epsilon naught A by D. You know that the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor is given by C is equal to epsilon naught A by D, where A is the area of the parallel plate and D is the distance between the plates, and epsilon naught is the dielectric of the medium. Right? So here similarly I have defined a function capacitance, and then I am giving two areas and distance, and I am printing the capacitance. Now what is this is that from this program what I am going to tell you is that how does the capacitance of a capacitor, parallel plate capacitor, vary with accordance with its area, for example, or the distance between the plates. It can be easily analyzed and found out by defining this function and creating capacitors. You don't need to write this program two times. You can simply call the capacitance function and use it. So the purpose of user-defined function is that you don't need to reduce, you don't need to write the code again and again. One block of codes can be repeated n number of times for our ease. All of you understood? Any doubts? Okay. So this is, and here in this I have taught you how to import a package. This math is called as a Python package. We will be learning more number of packages and we will be learning more number of complex operations in Python. Okay. We have another package called as date time to import, to use for date and time. We have another one called as calendar. I'll show you how to do these things. Import date time. Datetime.now. You will get the current date and time printed. Okay. Similarly, you have calendar. Calendar.esleep 2022 to check whether it is a leap year or not. (2024) is the year, 9 month, 2 is the date, this is the time in MS format. Okay, we can change these formats. There are n number of formats. How to change the formats of date and time we learn as we go on. Okay. So there is a, let me just check it out whether it works or not. Now I'll just get back to you on that. We can change the format and we can use it according to however we want. Similarly, there are so many number of packages. We will be seeing another one package very important for scientific computing called as NumPy. NumPy is the core for entire programming for engineering subjects. You have any doubts regarding functions, you can ask me right now, I can clarify it. So this is the official page for documentation, where you can see all kinds of functions, built-in functions. You can use this as your reference for finding out, for using built-in functions. Okay, we have something called as time delta to find out the difference in time between two time objects. Date dot min, date dot max, you can find out, say is a weekday or is a calendar, all these things. Okay. ISO weekday,